to On Practicing Guitar. Today we're going to take a look at the riff from Led Zeppelin's epic masterpiece, How Many More Times. Tabs, charts, and a full article are available on my website on practicingguitar.com/Chris Botta Guitar. If you find the video helpful, please give it a like and subscribe to my website. The URLs are in the info section of the video. Alright, let's get started. Playing a repetitive riff is a great way to get some exercise for your left hand and your right hand, and also to get an idea of how each hand is functioning and how they work together, which is a really important thing in playing the guitar. Led Zeppelin's How Many More Times is a perfect vehicle for this kind of study, and then of course it's a totally killer riff. There are sort of simple things and more complex things. We're going to take apart the riff in its components, and then we'll put it back together, and I'll show you how to practice it. The riff is very simple on the surface. There are 5 notes played twice, which forms a question and answer structure. One is just slightly different from the other. Basically, it's only in the rhythm. The order of the notes is the same. So what we've got is E, low E, high E up an octave, D, E, D. It's a 4/4 rhythm, and you've got 5 notes. So how do we fit that in? Well, we'll figure that out. We're going to take a look at the rhythm a little bit more closely in a few minutes. But let's just hear it quickly. I advise you to try and play clean sometimes, and then of course you want to turn the distortion on to get the full Led Zeppelin effect. I'm going to give you some close-ups in a minute, but for now I'm going to give you some fuzz. I'm sure you're familiar with the term pentatonic scales, maybe minor pentatonic, or also blues scales. Well, the riff from How Many More Times comes out of what is known as the 3rd minor pentatonic scale form. It's a really good idea to get to know what all of the forms are and remember their names. It can be really, really helpful when you start to put a lot of different ideas together. The scale form looks like this. However, we're only using part of it, and I have a special name for this part, and you really need to get to know this and where it is in all the different keys that you need to use. E, of course, is one of the most important keys. I call it the big box. Key note. Here it's starting on A, that's what's known as the 4th of the scale, even though it doesn't count up to 4. I call it the big box because it has a big sound. There's also something that is known as the high box. In the key of A, it's like... I'm sure you've seen that before. High box comes from the old traditional blues guys, that was their name for it. But anyway, what we've got is the big box, and we're also adding the low E, which comes from the first position in open, the open first position blues scale. So we got a little combination of 2 forms there. Okay, that's important to know. You know, just for other information, there are some really big-time tunes that use this. One would be Whole Lotta Love, and the other is Purple Haze. So. Very simple little part of it, or... Okay, so you really have to get comfortable with this spot in the key of E. Okay, So let's take a look at a close-up of the left hand. A really important function of the riff is the rhythm. You've only got 5 notes, right? So it's got to have something rhythmic that will make it pop. Interestingly, it's in 4/4 and you've got 5 notes, as I said before. However, most of the notes in each phrase of the riff are quarter notes, and then one is a triplet 8th note figure. Okay, so we've got 4/4 in the very background, and then in the sort of foreground, however you want to look at it, we've got this shuffle rhythm. So, you know, it's blues rock basically, so the shuffle, as you hear in blues all the time, right, it's going da 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 da, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, long, short, long, short, long, short, long, right? So we've got our 4 quarters, and then we're going to place in our first version, the triplet goes on beat 2. And then in the answer, first version question, second answer. In the answer, the triplet goes on beat 4. I know this sounds kind of complicated, but when you try and learn how to play the riff, people get a little confused by that, not knowing where exactly this kind of strange quick note goes, right? Interestingly also, beats 2 and 4 are what are known as the backbeat. That's where the snare hits, right? So this whole rhythm just, it develops a huge amount of momentum. And that's what rock and roll is all about, right? To really get the sound, you want to try and use a combination of downstrokes and upstrokes. It's mainly downstrokes. Each phrase has 1 upstroke. So it's going to be like this. Down, down, up, down, 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 up. Down, down, up, down, 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 up. I was doing it this way, and I always try and check things out. So I looked at a couple of videos of Led Zeppelin. One when they played in Denmark around 1969 when they released the album. The other one was from the Royal Albert Hall, I believe it was in 1970. And that's exactly the way Jimmy Page picks it. It's kind of hard to see what he's doing, of course, but if you take a look at these videos, you'll see what I'm talking about. His picking technique is different. He has many different picking techniques, but in this case, he's kind of doing what I call this kind of Nashville technique. I'm using more of a supported technique. So anyway, the picking is important. If you can't get it right away, you can just do all downstrokes. Okay, let's take a look at a close-up of the right hand. When you've worked out all of the details, the thing you want to do, of course, is practice the tune. So what I recommend is, when you first come to it, when you first get your guitar out, you turn it on, play the riff. Just go for it, do the best you can. You'll get a really good idea of where it is. Then you can break it down, look at different aspects, what the notes are, you can work on your picking, the sound, all kinds of different things. Then when you're done with that, go back and play it again. And make sure that you play it repetitively over and over again. If you make a little mistake, don't worry about it. Just keep on going. If it falls apart, okay, that's, that happens. Then you just, take a breath and you start over again. But just make sure to play at times, every time if you can, you know, in a sort of through manner. So you're just going for it beginning to end. If it's a repetitive riff, you do it over and over again, and don't stop and try and fix some sort of little minor mistake. All right, so let's recap this a little bit, right? So what do? We analyzed the riff, right? We found that it's a 5-note figure that repeats and with a variation, so it's a rhythmic variation, and that forms a question and answer. And then we looked at the big box, right? And we looked at the rhythm, and it's basically about how the 4/4 meter or rhythm interacts with the shuffle rhythm, which is sometimes called 12/8, and how that figures into the riff. Also, you know, the 2 and the 4 with the triplet figure there. We looked at the picking, which goes right together with the rhythm and how you play it. Remember, it's down, 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 up, right? And then we also talked about practicing and the importance of breaking it down, but also playing it repeatedly over and over again. The riff goes 10, 12, 15 times in a row in many different parts of the song. So you definitely need to be able to play it more than once or twice. And getting it going is part of the joy of it. Thank you for joining us today. You can find more information about this lesson on my blog, which is called On Practicing Guitar, attached to my website, chrisbottaguitar.com. And the URLs are in the information section of the video. And if you enjoyed this video, if you got something from it, please give it a like, and please feel free to subscribe to my channel. Most important of all, have fun with it.